Greetings, my name is John Gabriel and this is the New Calculus channel. So today I'm going to once again show you how ridiculously stupid are mainstream academics. And I've shown you several videos on this topic before, but it's called the first principles method in calculus. It's pretty laughable and it's completely flawed. And so I'm going to show you a few things about this and try to explain a little bit more why this method is wrong and cannot be used to find the derivative. So let's see if I can give you yet another perspective in this video. Okay, let's begin. Now, if you'll recall, I showed you my geometric theorem, which some have called a tautology, which is quite a big joke because if this theorem here is a tautology, then a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared is also a tautology. And as we know, that's not true because that usually refers to the theorem of Pythagoras. But in any case, let's go back to this video here to show you that mainstream academics can't be corrected. It's a religion, it's a cult. So let's just first listen to what this guy has to say. Okay, let's play it.
Actually, we had something, I threw you guys right in the deep end. I had something much more complicated. There was squares and all that. This is easy to deal with, right? First thing to write down is? First thing to write down is? The limit. Why am I dealing with the limit?
Oh, so you see, first thing to write down is limit of h goes to 0, he says. But that's complete garbage because as a matter of fact, there is no limit being taken. And in this particular case where we have 5x plus 1, it's a straight line. So it doesn't even apply to a straight line because any finite difference on a straight line is already the slope of the straight line. So there's no limit to be taken. Nothing approaches anything else. And of course, for any finite difference, h is fixed. But notice how he constantly writes lim of h goes to 0, and he'll put this in front of every one of these expressions. And of course, he'll deduct marks in his classes if that isn't done. So the thing about mainstream academics is that they cannot be fixed. They are beyond correction. Okay, it's like Trump supporters, you know. They blindly believe what he tells them. And of course, anyone who is a product of any mainstream university will also blindly believe what they're taught and told. Now, I'm not going to spend time on this because it's not important, but you'll find that most of the other sites, if you type in first principles methods calculus, you'll see the same method applies. And the same kind of nonsense and drivel is repeated all over. And by the way, this guy here has quite a following. His name is Eddie Wu, and he produces a lot of videos on calculus. Nothing against the guy personally, but he's an idiot, like all the other mainstream academics. So now, coming back to my theorem, the theorem states, and now look what the theorem states. The theorem states that the slope of the red secant line, this secant line here, see? This red secant line is equal to the slope of the tangent plus this difference, okay? I mean, what could be simpler? It doesn't matter how you move that. See? There's always going to be a difference because the secant line is never the tangent line. Now, of course, if you have a straight line, as he showed you in his video, the video that we were looking at, then this doesn't even apply at all because this here this red expression here turns out to be the slope of the straight line. There's nothing to do. In other words, there's no tangent line slope or difference. Okay, so this is pretty historic. This is an ingenious identity which comes from my theorem, which I discovered in January 2020. And although a lot of mainstream academics have now understood it, the majority are still beyond correction. They're incredibly stupid, and they can't get to the point where they can admit that the first principles method is flawed. So This will work for any function, by the way. It doesn't matter what the function is. As long as the function is smooth, this identity applies. Okay, so, and the proof of it is in the article that I wrote, and I'll place a link to it as well. So don't dismiss this, because this is the first. Well, actually, it's the second rigorous formulation. The new calculus was the first, but these ideas came from the new calculus. Okay, so in the mainstream, they're terribly pathetic. You know, they basically, they refer to this, or they change this difference to a limit. So from this, they go to this. This is an equation, but this here is just nonsense. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so this here is usually an expression. By the way, if this is a straight line, there is no difference. Okay, so Q of XH is 0, right? So automatically, you know, there's definitely no need to put lim as h approaches 0, not even in the case where it's not a straight line, but I'm just trying to show you how incredibly stupid are mainstream academics. Mainstream mathematics is a religion, and even people from the Ivy League universities still haven't admitted that they're wrong, okay? So, I mean, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had that fool, Professor K. Lee Lerner, who's not really a mathematician of any sort, but he had a lot of garbage to say. And of course, I don't comment on Quora anymore because they kept on removing my comments. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the first principles method is a joke, and it goes all the way back to my debate with Anders Kaysorg of MIT, and way back, even before I realized the new calculus or discovered the new calculus. So I've come a long way since I was born in North Africa, near the intersection of the Blue and White Nile. I have a little anecdote to talk about, because I'm going to place links to all of this and you can study it in your own time. But when I was still a toddler, we would go picnicking at a little forest quite close to the Blue and White Nile. And I remember that there was a bell pepper plantation there. I can't tell you how fragrant those bell peppers were and how delicious they were, and the fact that I've never tasted anything or smelled anything like that in my entire life. You know, those bell peppers were unbelievable in both flavor and texture. And I mean, I was only about, I think, 13 or 14 months old, according to my mother. And so we were discussing this many years later, and she told me, yeah, that was where we used to go picnicking. So what I'm going to try and do in the future is create some more videos telling you about my life, so that you can get to know more about me as a person, okay? Not to believe the utter rubbish that you read on the internet about me, the libel, the denigration, the defamation, all those things that are not me at all. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to stop here because I'm out of breath and I'm not feeling particularly well today. But hopefully in the near future, I'm going to talk about my life a little bit, so that those who are interested can complete a picture of who and what I am, because I definitely am one of the greatest mathematicians ever. And I know people will say, well, you shouldn't say that of yourself. Well, I have no problem saying that of myself, because I've accomplished what no other human could accomplish. So I'm going to leave it at that and talk to you again later. My name is John Gabriel. This is a new calculus channel. Till next time, goodbye.